Good morning. Welcome to Greenfield Hill Church. From the King family. Happy holidays.
Good morning and welcome to worship at Greenfield Hill Church on this fourth Sunday in Advent. Listen to the words of the prophet Isaiah, who foresaw the joy that we will soon be celebrating. The wilderness and the dry land shall be glad, he said. The desert shall rejoice and blossom. Like the crocus, it shall blossom abundantly and rejoice with joy and singing. All people shall see the glory of the Lord, the majesty of our God. We begin our worship by inviting the Smith-Yanachek family forward to the Advent wreath to light the fourth candle for us, the candle of love.
Today is the fourth Sunday of Advent. Advent is a time when we prepare once again for the coming of Jesus. Each day we light a candle on the wreath to proclaim the coming of the light of God into our world.
On the first Sunday of Advent, we lit the candle of hope. On the second Sunday, the candle of peace. On the third Sunday, the candle of joy. Today, in the last Sunday of Advent, we light the candle of love. Listen now to these words from the first letter of John.
God's love was revealed among us in this way. God sent his only Son into the world so that we might live through him. And this is love, not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his Son.
We wait in hope and peace and with joy. We light the candle of love to proclaim that God's love is revealed in the child born in Bethlehem. Let us pray. God, you gave us the gift of love. Help us to show his love to everyone we meet, so that your world will be filled with holy love. Amen.
Well, again, welcome. Welcome. Today is not only the fourth Sunday in Advent, but what we like to call Christmas Sunday as we draw ever closer to the joy of Christ's birth. And today's worship is very special indeed. Rather than a sermon today, you'll be hearing a story. David has written a wonderful new short story called The Grand Old Man of Queens, the story of an elderly widower in the city and the events that unfold around him, events that bring the Christmas story of 2,000 years ago into our story now. David will be reading the story in two parts, and we'll be hearing from him in just a few moments. A quick note about Christmas Eve worship. We truly do have something for everyone this Thursday. For those worshiping with us online, we'll be posting two services for you to choose from or enjoy both. On Christmas morning, our Christmas pageant service will be posted, including the pageant video that dozens of our kids have been hard at work making. And in the afternoon of Christmas Eve, we will be posting our candlelight service with beautiful music and our chancel choir together again. If you'd like to worship with us in person, we offer 6 services to choose from. At 10, 3, and 5, it's our family Christmas tree service outdoors under a canopy tent. At 7, we'll have a candlelight service outdoors. And at 9 and 11, we'll be here in the sanctuary. That's a lot to remember, so you can either rewind this video or, even easier, go to our website, greenfieldhillchurch.com, where it is all detailed for you. Let's listen now as our soloists lead us in song, singing, "O Come, All Ye Faithful." And after that, David shares the first part of his story.
He was the grand old man of Queens. He never called himself such a thing, yet it seemed to fit. He carried himself with assurance and humility, a rare combination at any time. His house was a simple enough affair, solid, straightforward, some brick, some wood, a postage stamp, front yard, a sitting porch. When the family was full in life, with hustle and bustle, the order of the day every day, the house seemed magnificent. A palace of our own, his wife had said. Now a memory palace, like in the Russian folktale the old lady next door told him about. Fill your memory palace room by room with memories and you'll never grow old, she had assured him. It was the week before Christmas. Seated by the big window just inside the front porch, he could sense the season taking over the block. On the little end table next to his sitting chair, he had placed a pretty good replica of a Christmas tree, no more than a foot tall, but complete with lights and ornaments. It was the sort of thing one orders from Vermont Country Store. He couldn't remember ever being in Vermont, yet enjoyed memories of Vermont. There's a paradox for you, he thought to himself, chuckling. Sitting on the porch in good weather, or by the big window when the first frost left crystals on the lawn, he enjoyed the sea of life passing by in both directions, to work and back, to school and back, to market and back, to church and back. Busy mornings with energetic strides toward every destination, hurried evenings in the rush to get home, the midday lull when trees and birds and moms with strollers took precedence. The world thought that his world had changed. He thought his world was as it always had been. Neighbors still needing a helping hand, kids wanting to play ball, teenagers trying to get it be troublesome, old folks enjoying more time than they were accustomed, books to be read, a garden to be tended, ideas percolating, good people all around. True, the Baptist church is now a mosque, different smells along the block at dinner time. He liked the colorful cloths on poles in some front yards. Prayer cloths, he bet. Might he borrow one, he had asked a surprised neighbor. I'll get you one at my temple, the man had promised, and he did. So together they loosened the soil nearest the big window and pushed down hard to plant it, next to a Mass card and a little cross given to him when his wife took sick. The morning reveries were interrupted by a knock on the door, surprising since he had a doorbell, which he never heard but thought everyone should still use. He pulled himself up from the chair and a little gingerly made it to the door, opened it, and immediately exchanged broad smiles and a hearty welcome. Two ladies with large Bibles, well used, he noted. Good for them. He knew them, he felt certain. If not them, then their near kin, something familiar. Angels, he thought he said to himself, but they both beamed and responded. Angels bring good news, don't they, sir? Said the older one with a bright, broad-rimmed hat. Looks nice, he thought. And do not be afraid, they always say, he added, surprising his guests, remembering the lifelong warning that at any moment one might entertain angels unaware. The younger woman stepped forward one step. But you're not afraid, are you? The world is not as it should be, but you have a good heart. Do you know what God has planned for you? At this, the grand old man of Queens invited the ladies to enter, escorting them to the sitting room. He knew what God had planned for him, but surely would be interested to know their take. More knowledge is always a good thing. Still, he found himself humming as they entered the room. Blessed Assurance, he told them. My wife would play that late at night on the piano. Let the debate begin, he proclaimed, happily, throwing them off just a bit, but not for long. They loved words, each of them, call it what you will, chess, war, debate, fencing. He liked that, fencing, thrust, parry, feint, at times attack, but not often. Words began, words embraced, words quoted, good words, holy words, warning words, heaven, eternity, judgment, Satan, Trinity, incarnation, Jehovah, Jesus, saints, Mary, miracle, failure, anger, loss, triumph. One would squirm, one lean forward, one sit back, a smile, a frown, a barely whispered, yes, amen, that's right, thank you. After some time, the older lady reached out, placed her hand on his, and excused herself. Over the next while, he heard pleasant sounds of yesteryear from the kitchen as if she was familiar. Water being poured, refrigerator opened, then shut, soon a soft whistling sound. She re-entered the room, bearing gifts. Here you go, she said, placing a cup of tea to his side and a large bowl of vanilla ice cream topped with maple syrup before him. Other treats were shared, a bounty worthy of such scholars, he assured them. Too soon, as day wore into night, words became prayer and farewells with promises made. Off they went, all fulfilled. He awoke the next day, later than usual, amazed to discover that he'd slept through the night in his sitting chair by the window. After a cool water sponge bath, he chose to venture outside. Taking his cane by the front door, he maneuvered down the steps out onto the block. The block had always been everyone's identity once he moved to the big city. What block you live on was a common greeting. What subway station? What's your parish? Everybody knew their local parish, even if they weren't Catholics. Holy Child Jesus, he'd say with pride, the 104th Street station on the L. Today, he would traverse that block, maybe more. He felt strong. The cane humbled him, a mark of weakness, dependence. Walking stick, that was okay. That's what his son called it when he presented it. And cudgel, he could stem the tide of evil if it lurked around the corner or sprung forth from the alley with the knob on that cudgel. Like Don Quixote, the family patron saint, the windmills were real and required a sturdy cudgel to confront. With that thought, he lifted the cane triumphantly. On the next block, he found a little park to his pleasing, a reminder of 1,000 games played. Gripping the cane like a baseball bat, he raised it to his shoulder, both hands tight down by the knob, and began to swing it tentatively and then vigorously, shaking the rust off, swing by swing until satisfied. "There," he said, and sat down to catch his breath. When he woke up, he decided to walk further, beyond the block and the neighborhood. Careful not to step on the sidewalk cracks, he set out in search of a Starbucks that must be nearby. Yes, 1 tea and a nibble, like the English do, he informed each passerby. Approaching the busy avenue, ablaze with neon signs promising open, pizza, Corona, halal, empanadas, he was excited by the adventure. Before reaching the corner, he saw a sight that filled him with joy. "Look at that automobile," he said out loud, pointing with his Louisville slugger toward that marvel of Ford's ingenuity, a thing of substance. Wonder turned into distress as he noted the driver's side doors open, front and back, and a man huddled with a young woman in the back seat, protective. Concerned, and she, with just the slightest whimper, was showing, well, not quite fear, but maybe a little. Puerto Rican, he was sure. "Buenos dias," he said to both, tapping on the side window. Startled, the man came out of the car, taller than expected. "Good morning," the younger gentleman responded, offering his hand. With kind surprise, the elder dispensed with his broken Spanish, and the younger utilized his not-so-broken English, and soon an animated and productive conversation took place. "Are you from the neighborhood?" "No. We are visiting." "No, we don't know anyone." "Yes, we're having some trouble, a little trouble. Yes, we have been living in the car for some days. No, we have no more food or money." "No, she's not sick, not exactly. We are having a baby. She is having a baby. Yes, soon, maybe now. The shelters are full. I told you we do not have money. The car is fine." "But it is diciembre," the elder said, remembering one more word in Spanish. "It is too cold to be in the car." "It is all we have. We have some blankets and long underwear. We can do it. Thank you for stopping." "Then come with me. I'm going to Starbucks." "But there is no Starbucks on the avenue. We know. We were looking for a bathroom." "Well, I have tea in my kitchen and crackers. You will catch your death of cold out here. Come, I'll show you. You follow me." Amidst an air of urgency and hope and fear and relief, the elder prevailed. The younger spoke to his wife, closed the backseat door, got behind the wheel, and started the car. Haltingly. With his cudgel, the grand old man stopped the traffic and then used the walking stick to point in the direction of home. Perhaps a bit too slowly for some, they set a steadfast course in reverse of the elder's earlier walk. He, walking right down in the middle of the street like a parade marshal, looking left and right, ignoring honks and stares, with an occasional nod to a neighbor. The other, driving under the radar behind, both his hands firmly on the wheel, she taking deep breaths, somewhat stunned, not afraid. Finally, at home, he took them to the master bedroom on the second floor. No matter their protestations, it was insisted that they have his room. Only when he said, "My wife would insist," did they agree. As they settled in, he retreated downstairs, boiling hot water, setting out the crackers, pouring milk, choosing thoughtfully from his teacup collection, returning to the master bedroom with his offering, Don Quixote in triumph. It did not seem the time for words, so he wished them a good night, leaving the younger gentleman sitting on the bed, holding his beloved's hand, which she grasped from time to time in harmony with each breath. The street outside was dark and still, that time of peace that comes to every city, at least a bit. Back in his familiar chair, a quilt over his legs, he would rest and let life unfold. The time ahead was a blur. The porch light above entered the front room just enough to offer glimpses, a flurry of activity beyond and above, deeper in the house. Footsteps up and down the stairs more than once, creaking floorboards in the master bedroom and hallway, doors opening and closing, hushed words, a tenderness in the air, almost musical, like a hymn. The grand old man slept well, the sleep of the satisfied, his doctor called it. It doesn't happen often, but always at the right time. He awoke easily, the sun high already, the steady hum of the washing machine from the basement, the smell of pancakes from the kitchen. When he looked around to take in the smells and the sounds, his memory palace leapt from past to present. His young woman was resting on the living room couch, nestling a child on her breast, a demure smile, a joy to his world, but not unexpected. "Breakfast is served," proclaimed the young gentleman, proud of his contribution to life on the block. And so, in the wood brick house on the block not far from the L, a world unfolded from the sitting chair by the window to the kitchen, from the couch to the master bedroom, from stove to table, tea and ice cream, pancakes and crackers from a bottomless bounty.
In just a few moments, David will share the conclusion of his story. Now, though, we pause to bring our hearts together in prayer. Let us pray. God of all hope, your prophet Isaiah promised to us, the people who walk in darkness will see a great light. In these next days, dear God, may every place that now knows darkness behold the glory of your light. May healing come to our country in every way that it is needed. Healing of the body for all those who suffer. Healing of the heart for all who grieve. And healing between us as we seek to reweave the fabric of our nation. God of joy, your prophet also promised to us a time of greatest joy. So open our eyes to see joy, to see that joy that is already within and around us, those joys of human connection which we now cherish more than ever, the joy of compassion and generosity, and the joy of laughter and delight that we see especially in children. May we behold your light. May we see your joy. We pray this in the name of the one who taught us together to say, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. And now David continues with The Grand Old Man of Queens, Part 2.
And so, late one afternoon, the doorbell rang. Instinctively, the young man jumped. The mother covered her child as if not there. They stared at the door. The block's truest grandfather did not notice the furtive glances or smell the fear. He made his way to the door, unlocked the locks, opened widely, and was, for a moment, perplexed to find two young men standing far back by the sidewalk. Straining to place the familiar faces, he offered his disappointment. "No, I'm sorry, there is no game today," he reminded them. "It's a holiday. You should be with your family. Tomorrow, we'll have practice." The young men shared a puzzled look. "No, sir, we are not here for a game," they said kindly. "We are here preparing for college, learning certain business skills, and offering a wonderful chance, sir, for you to learn all you want to know about anything." "What a world!" he exclaimed for all to hear, or see, or infer. "New life behind me, knowledge before me, a full kitchen, and such words as these from men so young. College, learning, business, wonder, knowledge, a life's worth of wisdom at my doorstep. Come in," he offered with a welcoming gesture worthy of the grand old man of Queens. Come, he further insisted as they hesitated. They fairly bounced up the stoop stairs now, shook hands with the old fellow at the door, and headed where he pointed, toward the sitting room. Startled to come upon an equally startled living nativity tableau on the couch, the two stopped mid-step. The three stopped mid-breath. The householder invited all and sundry to gather around the old dining room table. The growing family sat on one side, the young businessman on the other, and he in the middle. "And now to the knowledge," he said with extra vigor. The young men had rarely faced such exuberance. Their school of hard knocks only offered hard knocks, unanswered knocks, and rejected knocks. But emboldened by this exuberance, they opened their folder and laid out a few pages of brochures. "Ah, a veritable library," the old man exclaimed, and turning to the family, "the world at our hands." The entrepreneurial walking librarians began, in tandem, to offer their polished, if virgin, presentation. Words, true words. Biography, it was. Baltimore, crime, pain, want, choices, trouble, tragedy, hope, people, church, work, scholarship, plan, career, motel, hunger, failure, fear, never, ever quit. "Life," said the one who knew it the longest, "life, and it's just beginning," he promised. With that, he began to study each brochure line by line, interrupted by the helpful or hopeful guidance of the boys who should be out playing. Said one, "You see, we have magazines, books, subscriptions. Look, here's one about fishing, there, hunting, yoga, wellness, men's health, the Civil War history." "There, that's it," the gentleman said joyfully. "The Book of Knowledge, 26 volumes, perfect. The whole set, yes, the Book of Knowledge. And the Harvard Classics," nodding to the new father, who nodded back. The two young curators of knowledge looked at each other, perplexed and pleased, never having heard of such books, but still believing in their own purpose. The other young man, with the maturity of fatherhood setting in, caught their eyes, declaring, "See, there you have it right there. Check it off," his finger pointing toward an encyclopedia. "See, 26 volumes, finely bound, it says, a true book of knowledge." Perusing further together, they located classics worthy of Harvard: Ivanhoe, Tale of Two Cities, Dr. Seuss, Sesame Street, a book about a children's orchestra in Paraguay, a children's Bible, each selection prompting more choices. Our young Willie Lomans grinned broadly. The young mother, busy with her child, spoke for the first time. "You must be hungry. What would you like?" "Pizza," both declared at once. "New York pizza and Chinese food," added the honorary grandfather of all. Before the combined net worth of the two younger generations could dawn on anyone, the grand old man of Queens reached for his wallet and handed it to the nearest youngster. Mom and Dad looked at each other as moms and dads do, with suspicion, only heightened when the old man suggested that the boys should take the car down to the avenue in search of abundance. The new father turned the keys over with the same enthusiasm of every father turning the keys over to the family car. Out they went, the boys into men, faster than they came in, full of wallet and car keys. Parents exchanged looks and sighs unnoticed by the eldest and newest males in the room. As time went by, sun went down, hunger set in. The older man stood up. "Shall we have some ice cream? A truly civilized society has dessert first, I'm told." Off to the kitchen, opened the freezer, shuffled through the cupboards before returning with 3 large bowls and 1 shot glass filled with ice cream. One ate vigorously, one ate despairingly, one ate not at all, one waited till another time. No one said anything. As the old man's spoon scraped the bottom of the bowl, each one's reveries and worries were silenced by a car entering the driveway. Doors open, close, trunk slams shut, front door opens. Triumphantly, the two future CEOs of success sauntered in, bearing a gigantic pizza box, steam rising, and Chinese food. Then, on a return trip out and back, supplies, they laughed, holding up a plethora proudly. Backpacks, baby wipes, blankets. Swaddling clothes, proclaimed the eldest gentleman, laughing, to which was added a teenager's idea of toys for tots, but perfect. Bright colors, fun sounds, nothing scary. And flowers, beautiful plastic flowers, which, shyly, they presented to the lady of the house. Feliz Navidad, one said, a little embarrassed. The wallet given back to the oldest, keys to the middlest, and for the first time, a kiss to the youngest. Once again, a blur of hustle and bustle as time and food were consumed in a festive manner. Until, too soon, the twin young businessmen looked at each dear friend and announced that they should leave, as if the greatest adventure of a lifetime was drawing to a close. Certainly not, the grand old man declared. You should rest the night, gesturing around the house. But first, I must pay the piper, pointing to the small mountain of book and magazine orders next to his plate. Opening his wallet, he passed it trustingly to the older entrepreneur, and by some strange alchemy, the piper got paid. Then, the inn that had just hosted the grandest banquet made room. The living room was made for living, and there the boys would live the night. The master bedroom was already home to the young master, and the elder would sit in his sitting chair, sleeping the sleep of the just. It did not take long. The perfect wood and brick house was quiet when the next day dawned. He awoke, pleased to meet new windmills, ready to engage, sure of victory. He stood stretched, not a yawn stretch, but an athlete's. The boys were gone. On the dining room table, he found his wallet and a note. Picking up the wallet, it was surprisingly plump. When he had given the young men his wallet to finance last night's feast, he was sure the 2 crisp 20s had sat there for just such an occasion and were sufficient. Now their place was home to 10s and 50s and other bills abounding, and a handsome credit card emblazoned with his name. No, he proclaimed with such power, a familiar tone in family gatherings, his shorthand for, oh my goodness gracious, isn't that something, manna from heaven? His no, always said with expected confidence of faith. The note was effusive yet professional. Gratitude for hospitality, pride for a successful business transaction, explanation for one credit card charge, noting Book of Knowledge and Harvard Classics, hope expressed for well-being, promise to remember. In the kitchen, the breakfast nook was set, bagels and various whatnot in abundance, coffee percolating on the stove the old-fashioned way. He was soon joined by the 3 from above. Lots of smiles, not many words, an occasional gentle sigh. We need to go, but we will not forget, the young father assured the older, and one day we will come back. That, too, was said with the confidence of faith. The young mother brought her bundle of new life and placed him in the old man's arms, nestled to his chest, one tiny hand visible, seeming to reach toward him. A lefty, he said with delight. That is a good sign. Our team needs a good lefty. While man and boy imagined the games ahead, the parents busied themselves with the responsibilities of leaving everything immaculate, top to bottom, front to back. Too soon they were back. The left-hander and the coach took one final measure of the other, more than pleased, and then separated. The grand old man of Queens, master of all he surveyed, escorted the family through the rooms of his now well-cluttered memory palace. Out the front door, down the stoop, into the driveway. Your chariot awaits, his hearty ending to each family departure borrowed from some ancient text. A A van? After a pensive, furrowed brow, he added, a good family vehicle, perhaps slightly surprised or not. Firm handshakes, firmer hugs, holding back less firm tears. Gracias, said one. Muchas gracias, said another. As the van drove down the block, the grand old man decided to sit on his stoop, something that he had not done in many a year, wishing he had a rubber ball to reclaim ancient glory. To no one in particular, he proposed, "Now let your servant depart in peace."